Hey everybody, welcome to Drive Thru Board Game Blog number 37. It has been about 2 months since I've done one of these formal blog entries. Today I'm going to talk about the top 5 games of 2015 so far. So the date that this goes up will be early April, and so there's still a lot of time left in the year, but I've made a habit of doing these the last couple of years just because things kind of get forgotten when Origins and Gen Con and then Essen roll around, and we are just like slammed with 1,000 games. So I don't necessarily think, somebody asked me about this, that the games early in the year, if they hold up or not, doesn't mean they're forgettable or not forgettable. I just think there's so many games coming out, and a good chunk of them are quality games. Not necessarily the majority or not. I think we can argue about that a different day, but there's a lot of good games that come out every year, and so I like to take a little moment to highlight, while things are sort of quiet, some of the games I've been playing over the last couple of months. I do have a 6th game because I'm going to get a little bit of flack on one of the games because it technically came out in 2014, but it was right at the end, like the last half or middle of December, and I got a chance to play it like I think once or twice maybe before the end of the year, and then several times since then. So I added an honorable mention just so everybody doesn't, get all snooty and Poindexter and be like, that was a 2014 release. So anyway, there's that. So I will be doing just a little sort of house cleaning kind of thing. I will be doing a top 100 this year as a part of the stretch goal for my Kickstarter project. I have actually got the list done. They're all in these little cards here, and I might shift some around a little bit, but I'll make those over the next couple of months. I should be done with those in June. I'll probably do 2 videos a week. That kind of seems to be the way to do it, and so looking forward to actually putting those together. It'll be a different kind of style of video for me. The other thing is maybe these are some games that you can play at Tabletop Day, because this will definitely be up before Tabletop Day. So these are all new games. The number 1 game is kind of sort of out of stock in a lot of places, but the rest of them you can find pretty readily. Even the first number 1 you can find readily, but I have seen it be out of stock in several places. So first, let's jump into the honorable mention. This is, or the number 6. This really is the number 6. I had a real tough time between number 5 and number 6, to be honest with you. And so the number 6 game here is Baseball Highlights 2045. This is a game from Eagle Gryphon Games. I've done a review of it, of course. And it plays 2 or 4 players. You can play 3-player too. Or you can get like 2 sets and play like 8 players and more sets to play up to like 16. And they have just released, I think less than a week ago, the tournament rules, which I've been kind of anticipating and waiting for. So if that goes well, and if I do get a chance to actually play like a tournament style game with, multiple playoffs and a World Series and multiple players, this might rise up on my list relatively significantly, I would expect, if that goes well. So, but it's a very light, sort of nice head-to-head baseball deck building game. You play over the course of a couple of games, or you can play just kind of a one-off game. There's a variety of ways to kind of play it, and glancing through the tournament rules, they mentioned something about kind of changing up how the drafting or the deck building portion of the game works a little bit. I would definitely recommend it if you're a baseball fan, 100%. If you're not a baseball fan, that's hard for me to really say. I am sometimes a fan of baseball. I don't really need to talk about steroids on a board game video, but there's that. But I'm a Dodger fan also, so I've had nothing but like constant October heartbreak the last, 5 or 6 years. So anyway, I would definitely recommend the game. It's got a very interesting sort of team building, and it does feel like baseball in a lot of ways. It feels like a little bit of the management, a little of the sort of the front office aspects of the game, and there are some mechanics for choosing like pinch hitting, and sort of feels like you're making pitching selections a little bit and things like that. So very nice game, and it's futuristic and stuff, so that's kind of cool. So that's kind of my honorable mention, and to sort of take place for the number 2 game, actually, which is a 2014 release. So number 5 now into the official list is XCOM the board game, and have had a blast playing this. And I remember saying in the review that I wasn't sure how good the game really was, because it was very, very fun. But I wasn't really sure like if it was a good game or a great game or whatnot, and I'm still kind of in between that. It's definitely better than good, but I'm not sure how absolutely fantastically great it is. But we have a great time playing. It is a blast, and that's all that really matters. Now, the one thing that would kind of hold it back, and I just throw this out there for general edification, is there's a lot of dice rolling, and there's a lot of harshness in the dice built into the game, which I think is by design, and I think it makes sense. But I think people will gripe at that and be grumpy about that and how that works, because you do a lot of hectic pacing with the app that comes with the game that you can download for free, and that's very exciting. And then you kind of go roll dice here, 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 and then you kind of go, okay, that all came down to a bunch of die rolling. Not really, because there's a lot of mitigation and things that you can do. And one thing that I've noticed about it that has kept it in my good graces is that we've gotten better at the game. So you learn little tricks and little sort of, I don't know, probabilities and things that you have a better shot at doing, and which technologies are better, and where to send the troops in a better, more efficient manner when you're doing the alien fighting or going to do a mission and stuff. So it feels like we're getting better. We're kind of knowing the app a little bit more. Try not to spoil it too much, but I know that if you get certain goals, the main objectives of the scenarios, they're going to change up how the game plays out and stuff. So there's really a lot in this box to explore and play, and I wouldn't dismiss it if you have kind of a funky first play where it's like, oh, we did all this stuff and rolled a bunch of dice. Yeah, but I mean, I can see that happening, but this one I think is worth a shot. And so this is another one that is played very, very well for us. So that's number 5. Number 4 is Homeland from Gale Force 9. This is a property that is based on a TV show. They seem to do games based on TV shows only, not even movies, just TV shows. This is awesome. It is probably not quite as good as Dead of Winter, but it's pretty close. I really, really like Dead of Winter and Battlestar Galactica and all that kind of stuff. This is very streamlined, but it works. It's all about the poker face kind of thing. It's all about looking at information, deducing, and trying to figure out sort of mathematically a little bit. I don't want to stress on the math too much because it's not very mathy, but you just kind of, pick and choose and gauge, and you gauge sort of the pot odds of, the different missions and things that are out on the board. There are different terrorist plots that you're trying to squelch if you're a good guy, and if you're a bad guy, you're trying to get them through and basically send the world into chaos. And if you're a sneaky politician, you're trying to get a little bit of chaos so you can gather political favor, which is a really cool aspect of the game. So it plays 3 to 6 players. I say it probably should say 4 to 6 players, because 3 players is kind of not enough for all of the social dynamics and the deduction that's going to happen. But really enjoy this. I like the special abilities and the different agents and soldier, actions that you can do. So it's super streamlined. There's a couple of little special abilities and things, but it plays so very quickly and smoothly, and it's tough. So it has all of those things going for it, and the theme is really cool because it's the sort of the double agent kind of thing that really works out. And from what I understand, I have not watched a single episode of the show. The different characters in here are sort of thematically, they make sense, right, for the different cards and things. And I don't know what the problem is. I feel like I'm on a big pedestal here going Gale Force 9 and Gale Force 9. You can see I've got all of their games. I still haven't played Spartacus, dang it, but I hope to play that one of these days. But all the other games I've played, I really like. I give you my top Gale Force 9 games. Number 1, Sons of Anarchy. Number 2, I'm doing my stuff with Firefly. I liked all the extra stuff in Firefly with the blue sun and all that stuff. And then number 3, very close, number 3 is Homeland. I don't know. Those would go back and forth. And then, of course, I haven't played Spartacus yet. But they're coming out with Black Sails, I think, this year. That I kind of watched the first episode of that because that's the only reason I watched that was because they're coming out with a game of it. And I watched it, and it's like, first of all, not for kids. And I was a little lukewarm, but at the end of the first episode kind of got me into it a little bit. It sort of had that, I'll just call it the Nemo's War vibe going on. Just leave it at that. And so I'm interested to go and check out the future episodes, but they pulled my free, sometimes they give you free HBO for a weekend or something, so they pulled all that. So I don't know if I'll get to actually watch it. But anyway, I'm excited about that stuff, and more people need to review Gale Force 9 stuff. Come on. All right, that's the last time I'm saying it. All right, number 3 is a game I just reviewed, Argent The Consortium, and I wanted to kind of get that review out before I did this list. So this list has actually kind of been on the back burner. I wanted to review this for a couple of weeks now, but I haven't had the chance. This is an excellent game. It's a very different kind of worker placement game. So very different theme. It's got the anime, Harry Potter kind of strange, magical, funky university thing happening. So that's cool. The worker placement's super nutty because you've got different magicians that you put out in different spots, and each of them has an intrinsic special ability which can change from game to game. You're gonna have a bunch of spells and items and different other supporters and other mages and things coming into play helping you. And it has this cool deduction thing going on where you're trying to figure out, okay, how do I actually win? Very cool, very interesting. Takes up a ton of table space, almost too much. It's like, wow, this is a lot of table space this takes up. That's really the only knock against it. And you know what I forgot? I forgot one knock. And since I'm here singing its praises, they have these little stands that you put your little player tokens in that are your color, but you can never see them. And I meant to mention that in the review and I forgot. Sometimes I cut things short because of time and it's not really pertinent to my main point. But they have these, you get like your little green token, you put it in the yellow mage or the white mage or whatever in their little thing. But once people place on the board, especially with like 5 players, you're like, okay, which one is mine? Okay, yeah, I did put it there. So I don't know what else to do. You could have different color coded bases, but anyway, that's annoying. But that's my only really drawback, and I meant to say that in the review. Oh, my main drawback is these stupid little stands for the mages. But there you go, there's that. But forget about that. That's just a minor niggling detail. The game is very fun, very excellent. You get cool combos and special abilities and just these, special abilities like gliding and hitting and, just everything kind of regenerating and constant things happening. And that really pulls you into the theme, is kind of the wackiness of that. But it never feels like it's chaotic or off the rails or anything like at all. It's very sort of, thinky in a way, but without really beating me over the head and making me, my brain hurt. Because you have this whole thing when you go through the deduction aspect to figure out which items you're supposed to be collecting. You don't necessarily have to look at all of them. You can see what other players are doing and then make an educated guess. Go grab a couple of them that you can look at and say, okay, we need most mana or most money or whatever. So you've got a couple in your pocket that and then the rest you try to deduce, because it costs you a worker placement type of action to put a mark out and reveal that. So it's a very, economical efficiency kind of thing with how you put your mages out. And it has that great sort of strategic element that's in so many euros, but then combined with all this stuff. So really awesome and really great game. And so I highly recommend this for anybody that likes euros and isn't afraid of so much overwhelming. So it really reminds me of Caverna in a way, where you have all this stuff laid out on the table with all the different rooms and buildings and things. This is kind of like that. You have everything out there, but it's not all out there, right? It's only some of it's going to be out there and slowly revealed over time as well. So there's probably a little bit more variability here than in Caverna in actual fact. So that was number 3. Number 2, this is the one I'll get in trouble for because it is a 2014 release technically, but this is definitely in the running for, my tops games of 2015 for sure, and that is Imperial Assault. Now we've had a great time playing this with the group. We've got a campaign running, but really the kind of clincher for me here is the campaign, plus it has the skirmish mode, which is awesome and fun and super quick. Very cool, possibilities for deck building or army building with the skirmish mode. And I've been meaning to do a sort of, I was thinking about doing it on Twitch, which I'll talk about more in a second, doing sort of an unboxing on Twitch. I'll have everything unwrapped, but I can kind of go through stuff and then maybe interact with questions and answers, that kind of thing, or a Google Hangout kind of thing. Just to go over some of the different scenarios, because the expansion packs that you get, I got them, I want to say last week or a week before, they give you a ton of stuff. I mean, they give you a bunch of skirmish scenarios, different missions for the campaign. Of course, you get the models and things, and some more of the command cards for the skirmish mode. So, just the sheer amount of game that you get in this box is, plus the expansions, is awesome. It's super fun. And it's not and I kind of talk about this in my review, it's not like the campaign necessarily blows me out of the water with some super innovative thing, because again, it's sort of like Descent refined, which is Doom, the board game, refined. But that's fine. I mean, it just works like clockwork, and it's kind of up to the players to inject a little bit of that flavor and story. I've been playing as the the Imperial side, really having a good time, and adding some little spice and role playing into it. So it's very fun from that perspective, but the skirmish mode really kind of carries it over, because I do like those head-to-head battle games like Battle Lore and Mage Wars and stuff like that. And I really like how they have approach this. And the one thing I gotta say about this game is it feels very, 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 very well developed. I almost feel like I want to say overdeveloped, because everything is just so, it's like polished to like this super sheen. It's like almost shiny, you know, it's like a lens flare type of attitude, but it really works. And so you can see that they've taken great care with this, and it's very like a high quality production level game. And you know, in the world of Kickstarters and sort of half-baked things, it's nice to see, you know, a game that is this well polished. And yes, it's Star Wars, so yes, it's kind of more mainstream, and you know, it's going to probably get a little bit more money thrown at it and that kind of stuff. But they did do that here, and I think that should be appreciated. So anyway, there's a lot in that box. That's all I got to say at the end of the day with that one. So the number one game of 2015, and I would say by far the number one game of 2015. Like I mentioned before, I'm doing my top 100. Some of these may or may not be in there. This one is for sure in there, 100%. And it's at the top, near the, not like number one, but it's, you know, in the top part of the list. This is the only spoiler I'll give here. So this is, excuse me, Roll for the Galaxy, designed by Tom Lehman, and excuse me for mispronouncing this name, but Wei Hua Huang is a co-designer, published by Rio Grande Games. And if you're going to go get one game out of these, definitely go get this one. It's awesome, plays well, 2 to 5 players, plays less than an hour, lots of strategy, lots of tactics, lots of luck. I predict, probably wrongly, that there will be some games that kind of pattern themselves after the dice mechanic in this game. And I like the allocation system in this so much. It just works so very well. And it's such a gamer game, right? It's something that it's just a little intricate clockwork system that you're just in there pulling levers and spinning dials and doing all kinds of cool stuff, flipping switches and pushing buttons. It just really gets you into that aspect of it. But again, it sort of condenses all that decision making a little bit based on the die roll, you know, and which of the technologies and planets and stuff that come out. But it's so exploratory. You can just play it and try it again and again and again and again. And so, you know, we played it multiple times in a single night, so many times, and it's very easy to teach as well. I've had no issue teaching this, even to people that have not played Race for the Galaxy. The rules are presented very easy to digest. The player aids on the shields are super easy. Once you play, you know, 1 or 2 rounds, then you'll be into it and you go, oh, okay, got it. But it's so fun, and there's this like addictive quality about it. You know, in a lot of ways, it kind of reminds me of what I expected Warriors to be. Because remember when that came out, it had this huge hype engine behind it. And kind of fell flat. I think it was a little bit lighter than maybe I expected, and, you know, other things. But so this though has a little bit of you know, it's not like a deck building, dice building thing, but it feels there's that engine building aspect to it, and you get that churn through the dice, you know, in the town center or whatever, and then it goes back into your cup, and then you get more dice, you know, so you've got the whole engine going back and forth. And so in a way it kind of feels like a little bit of a deck building type of attitude there. So I you know, the theme doesn't really make sense, whatever. I mean, it kind of does. You can think of it very abstractly. You feel like this kind of strange alien being, you know, moving chess pieces around and trying to control the galaxy kind of thing, I guess. I do a little bit. But it's really just about pure engine and pulling levers and having fun with the systems. So I highly recommend it. Very, very fun, a blast, like nothing else really that I've played. I mean, you can see the lineage there with, you know, Race for the Galaxy and San Juan, and then you go, oh, they threw the dice on. But a lot of really cool, interesting things that they've done and really developed. Again, something they've really developed, you can tell over time. And I think this game was very well anticipated for like a year or 2 years or something. So there's that. So anyway, that is my top 5 or 6 of the games of the year so far. And I will probably sit down and do my top 10 designers maybe later this week if I have time, or next week. So that is another top 10 list that I got a ton of requests for when Mr. Richard Ham did his top 10 request, top 10 game designers. Like, he did his, And then like within that week there, it was like email after email, like, hey, you gonna do top 10 designers? And I do get that once in a while when like the Dice Tower folks or Richard does a top 10. They're like, hey, what's your top 10? You know, because they want to compare and contrast and everything. And so, but like way more than normal when Richard did the top 10 designers. I was like, well, okay, I never thought about that, designers. And this one took a little bit of time just because it's kind of an oddball, sort of strange, you know, window of time to sort of snapshot games. But that one took a little, I had to give some thought at that. And I actually wanted to do my top 100 first before I went into the top 10 game designers, because I'm like, well, you'd expect that my top designer would have a lot of games in my top 100, and that may or may not be the case. I really don't want to spoil anything with either list, because then, you know, whatever, you know, well, it's kind of fun, I guess. You could try to deduce it if you were really bored, but we'll see. That's not necessarily the case in a lot of cases, because, you know, some people's games I've like really like one of their games and it's way up my top 100, but they've only done like one other game or maybe two other games I liked. Anyway, everybody have a great day and look forward to more stuff. Have fun at Tabletop Day if I don't see you before then. And then top 10 designers next time. Thanks. Bye.